I'd like to call the meeting to order, and Judge Meeks is going to lead us in a prayer, and then we're going to have Mr. Middlesworth lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we bow before you this evening. Lord, we thank you for the opportunities that we have to gather in places such as this, and we thank you, Lord, for these men that have set aside a part of their life to serve and to do the bidding of the people here in Grant County. And Lord, we just pray that you would give them the wisdom that they stand in need of, and that everything tonight would be done decently and in order. And we ask that you would forgive us of our many sins and shortcomings and help us to live God-honoring lives. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Would you do the roll call, please?
Wrinkle.
Here.
Caudell.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Pitts.
Here.
Lemming.
Here.
McWhort.
Here.
Scott.
Here. All right, and next we have the auditor's report.
You have your general fund balance along with your health insurance fund balance. I've also given you an update from the DLGF about the new legislation, so if you have any questions.
Angie, the update on the deed from the DLGF, what paper is that?
It looks like this.
Okay, that paper, all right, okay. Gotcha, thank you.
Next item that we have on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Everyone's had a chance to review those. I don't know if anyone had any changes.
There was one item I noticed on item D,
All right.
under Grant County EMS. It didn't mention in there who made the motion and who seconded, and that it was actually approved.
Okay.
Like the other items do. And actually, looking at my notes, I actually made the motion, Mr. Scott seconded, and it was passed unanimously.
All right.
So that's just one
Thank
thing I
you.
noticed.
All right, with that change, the chair will entertain a motion regarding the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved.
All right, motion by Mr. Brinkle,
Second.
second by Mr. Lemming. Do we have any other questions or further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Next item on the agenda that I have is regarding a hiring freeze that I felt would be a good idea to do at this time, considering the changes that we've had at the property tax level going forward with Senate Bill 1. I think it's a good time for us to try to look into ways to possibly save money and look at for sure what we're doing, and take a pause and get approvals through the process so that we can make sure that we don't get ourselves ahead of ourselves as far as the budget goes.
Does that include any current posted positions?
I'm thinking it probably should include presently posted positions if they haven't been hired at the present time.
We didn't actually have a copy of that in our packet, I don't think. Is there a copy we could, I know I saw an email of it, I didn't print it off.
I had one in my packet. It wasn't too far behind the, oh, and maybe I put it in there.
Yeah, I don't have one in my packet. I did
Okay.
see it, an email,
Okay.
but I didn't actually print it off, so.
Okay. I think it's actually a resolution. Mr. Glickfield, help me if I'm wrong, but I think we had put a hiring freeze had been put in place several years ago by the county council. Heck, we may even have a member or two in the room that were on the council at the time, that it was put into place. And I think this resolution is quite similar to that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Kiss, just as a, I guess, a thought or a comment with this, I'm not opposed to doing that, I probably asked the mayor, but, or have the commissioners taken any action in this area as well to kind of enforce that thought or not, do you know?
I thought that they had taken action regarding that. Is that true or not true, Mr. Middlesworth, off the top?
Official action or nothing official?
Nothing official? Okay.
Are they, I guess, I'd ask, are you in support of this happening at this point?
Yeah, Shane Middlesworth, County Council, or County Commissioner. Yeah, the few of us commissioners have spoke about a hiring freeze. Obviously, we do have a couple vacancies with our own secretary. We're electing not to fill that vacancy. I would concur that we feel like the hiring freeze is probably the best thing to do, given what SB 1's gonna do to your funding. But we also have another position within EMA that we told to hold off on filling that vacancy as well. So we're trying to get ahead of the game on our end. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Thank you.
So basically, any of these existing vacancies would not be able to be filled if we were to pass this resolution.
Not without coming before the council.
And the exception is jail officer and patrol officer for the sheriff's department, or any sheriff's department members. That includes support staff.
I knew that jail officers were on there just because that's a constant turnover issue that we do have, although I do believe from talking to the sheriff earlier this week that they were full up over there. And not having that resolution right in front of me, I thought it had an exclusion in
I
there.
think that's the only exclusion is the jail officer.
jail.
You're right, I read
Not
that
the
wrong.
road deputies, yeah.
You're
Yep.
right, sorry.
Yep.
Tiny print.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, Mix Director of Central Dispatch. I would ask that my department be exempted from that as well. We have 3 openings. We're budgeted for 18 dispatchers. We currently have 15. We're going through the hiring process quite aggressively to become fully staffed. So if we could be exempted from that as well. Our salaries are not paid for by the general fund. They are paid for out of 4922, which is a consortium of funds that are brought in by the local municipalities, as well as you guys, and the 1222 fund, which is state funded from the state 911 board.
Could you give us those numbers again, your current staff and?
We're at 15, and we're current staffing levels number is 18. So I've got 3 in training. We're aggressively hiring 1. We've got another one that's getting ready to finish training. So then we can hire another one. And then as the dispatchers complete their training and our train officer becomes free, then we would hire up to the 18.
So the 15 includes the ones you're speaking of that's currently in training.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hicks, do you know how long have these vacancies been?
They've been posted quite a while. The problem we have is just like the sheriff's office, and it takes a special person to be able to sit in the basement and deal with the screaming and the yelling and the carrying on that goes on these 911 phones. Not everybody can sit down and do that.
Have we ever been at full staff?
I believe one day prior to my taking over, when I took over, we were at 50%. And we're the closest now that we've ever been.
You know, of course, this doesn't say they can't replace, just have to come before us to get it done.
Right.
So that we could make exceptions as we needed to. But,
Right.
Of course, timing might be an issue if we
Right.
only meet once a month.
When would your opinion be this resolution would take effect if it were voted in favor of?
I guess that was the question of the vacancies. Was it covering existing vacancies? And so my thought is that it would be effective upon passage, that we would implement it.
I'm just wondering if we need to add like a 30-day to give these guys a chance to get their, I mean, if they had 30 days, they knew at the end of that 30 days, that was it. Would that be beneficial to department heads? Or does it make any difference?
For me, my staffing takes 90 days to train. So,
So they're not considered hired until they're through your.
no, they're hired and they're on the payroll. And they count as a dispatcher, whether they're trained or not.
But you still have 3 right now that are still vacant with that going on.
Correct. I have 3 that are vacant and 3 that are in training. And as those 3 get finished with their training, I would hire to keep the training process going.
I know Mr. Hicks talked about the funding of where that money comes from. Part of it is general fund dollars. Yeah, not all of it. There's a chunk.
No, the county council does contribute to that fund. You're right.
There's a chunk, and if your expenses exceed the revenue that come in, we would also fund that as well out of general fund dollars. So there's that to be aware of. Not that we shouldn't, I'm just saying that's something to be aware of. I personally am not opposed to excluding the dispatch center from this based on what that is and the need to have that for sure because of the public safety issues. So I'm personally, I could probably let that be an exception as well, like the jail officer would. Obviously, you can go on and on about exceptions. Where do you stop?
When you get to public safety, you're talking about.
Of course, we're excluding road deputies. Of course, they can always come to us if there's a need there. We can always approve it on a need basis, so to speak.
Right. So would an effective date of July 1st make sense? It gets us through the first half? Or again, does it not really matter?
I think
a
that
whole lot?
buys a little bit of time. And I guess if I were a department head, I'm looking at it from my perspective. It'd be nice to know that I've got a deadline here, and after that, I'm going to go before the council. Because if we vote on it tonight, then it's like, boom, here you are, you're going to come before us now. I guess that's just my opinion, trying to think outside. If I were in their shoes, I think I would appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Do you have a question?
Todd Glancy, Grant County Area Plan. And so just to be clear, and I think you're going to address this, and I like where you're going with this, is if if a department has a loss of an employee, right, for whatever reason, that we're able to replace that employee, right?
The hiring freeze would actually indicate that it would have to come back through the council in order to replace that individual.
Okay. Because our department lost a person today, and then, like to be able to get that person, so we're running pretty tight, and I want to keep it that way.
And I think that's why Mr. Brinkle brought up, as opposed to a starting, upon passage tonight, there'd be like a 30-day opportunity really for July 1st, so it's more than 30 days. That way people have a heads up that it would be going into place. And I think that's a very good
And
comment.
my situation is much more simple
Yeah.
than that. Okay, thank you.
The resolution covers full-time. I believe yours is a part-time position, correct?
Yes.
So, that's good. Because it's
Right, full-time.
And then, okay,
This does not exclude you from replacing part-time losses. It's
Okay.
full-time.
just full-time.
this is only full-time, okay. I didn't catch that. Thank you.
Well, we're in this position because of loss of revenue or potential loss of revenue that we're seeing coming our way, thanks to Senate Bill 1. Even taking it another step further, our additional appropriations, even something that we need to consider at this point as well. And additional appropriations comes to us to vote on anyways. But is it a step that we need to take to to put a freeze on additional appropriations as well. Because obviously we need to capture the revenue that we can't to offset the losses. And that's one area. It's another area that I think we could probably consider.
Yeah, I guess my personal thought would be that the additional appropriations do come before us. We can always say no when they come to us, so we don't really need to put it in resolution form. But obviously, we can make sure the department heads know just from the tenor that, hey, additional appropriations are going to be looked at a little more strictly now than maybe we have in the last year or two, kind of thing. So that might be just a message to get out there, so to speak.
Yep. Sure.
Especially with general fund dollars.
I definitely believe our general fund's gonna be impacted, and it's trying to figure out exactly to what extent it's gonna be impacted. It's still kind of up in the air at this point.
Yeah, and we do have the funding in place for this year, so I mean,
Right.
we can feel comfortable there. It's just moving forward that we have to be concerned, beginning next year and after. The things you save now put you in better positions for the future, so.
Right.
I would concur with you, Mr. President. I'm in a position that we need to do something with the hiring freeze, if it's immediately or potentially July 1st. I'm certainly open to either way.
All right. Because I think the resolution as it is, yeah, would be immediate, but July 1st, and we already have an exclusion for jailers, and perhaps central dispatch, also being an exclusion to that as well.
I'd be willing to make the motion to approve this resolution number 1. What resolution number are we on, do you know? Number 1. But we do have a couple of changes to that. One would be to include in the exclusions the central dispatch full-time staff and up to their limit of 18. I mean, I don't want to go beyond our 18 positions, but up to that limit. And then also making it effective July 1, 2025.
All right.
So just for clarification, who all is excluded in this then? It's the jail officers?
It's full-time staff, central dispatch. Anything else that come before us before they can do it.
Just those two?
Yeah. Anything else that come before us for approval, they can still do it if we approve it.
And this does not include part-time workers?
Correct.
Okay.
It's a courtesy for every person or every leader or office holder to do that anyway. I mean, I agree with having it in place, it just makes it a little more official, but I mean, it's still a courtesy. We don't have to fund any of those, so it's always been done that they would come here and they would ask, some kind of spot.
And the reason being, basically, it's in the budget, we put that position in there, so the funding's there. Now we're kind of setting the tone that because of financial changes, we're concerned about the future, so we're looking to set a tone that we won't automatically approve those, except these exceptions.
Right. All right. And so we have a motion by Mr. McCourt.
I'll second.
All right. We have a second by Mr. Scott. Do we have further discussion?
Would you like me to read the corrections that I made based on?
Absolutely.
So everything would stay the same, except in paragraph 2, it would read that this resolution does not apply to the position of :1 jail officer, and the sheriff of Gregg County retains the sole authority to replace an open jail officer position, and 2 dispatcher at central dispatch. And paragraph 3 would read, this resolution shall be in full force and effect on July 1st, 2025, and will remain in effect until this resolution is withdrawn by the County Council of Gregg County, Indiana. And that would be resolution 1, 2025.
Do we have any comments from the public regarding this before we vote?
I'll fix it to get it to you. Can you do it?
All right. Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I think that helps everybody. Next item that we have on the agenda is Grant County Circuit Court. Judge Mark Spitzer had an additional appropriation. There you are, Judge Spitzer.
Great timing to come up now for an additional appropriation.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
I'll be pretty brief. Just a little bit of background for the new council members and Mr. President, members of the council. Circuit Court's budget has really the combined budget of all of the courts with regards to some sort of categories of expenditures, and we did that a few years back because a combined budget was more predictable than each court having their own budget. And so sometimes we'd leave money on the table, and so actually as a result of combining the budget, we have even decreased some of the expenditure, some of the budget categories as a result of combining them. So this is one of the categories, professional services, that Circuit Court has in the budget for all of the courts. And we use this category primarily for employing professionals for competency evaluations for criminal defendants who have mental health issues. And so just to explain that, from time to time, there comes a question whether or not someone is competent to stand trial or to assist in their defense. And the law requires, when that comes about, that you have an evaluation done of the defendant. And it's a psychiatrist and a psychologist. They do an evaluation. They give a report to the court. One of two things can happen. They can be indicated that they are competent to stand trial, and then we move forward with the case. Or if they're not competent to stand trial, then there's an opportunity for competency restoration, where we'll send them to Richmond State Hospital, and they do competency restoration. And sometimes their competency can be restored through treatment and medication, sometimes not, and they'll tell us that, and then it becomes a commitment, a mental health commitment, in essence, is what happens after that. So why is that important? First of all, obviously the law requires it. Second of all, this can delay a case as we go through this process. And so if we had to, for example, wait till next year to get this money, there may be people sitting in the jail waiting before we can do the competency restoration, or even if they're not in jail, it delays their case until the competency restoration can occur. So just so happens that this year we've had more than typical, and as everybody, I think, on the council knows, we've been really pressing moving cases, and so part of that is related to our efforts in moving cases. And so I'm asking that $10,000 in additional appropriation be allocated to the professional services account for that purpose. I can't promise you that I might not be back for juror per diem, which is also in my budget, as well as juror meals, which is also in my budget too. Again, we've been trying a lot of cases, and so probably at just to give you a heads up, at some point in the year, I may have to come back for an additional on those as well. That is what it is. You try cases, you got to pay jurors. But today I'm just asking for the professional services. Happy to answer any questions.
In terms of the evaluations, what are those increased numbers from what last year to where you're at?
It's just, not everybody sort of charges the same, and there are only a certain number of people that do it, and there are only a certain number of people that have time to do it. And then really more of it is the volume or the number of ones that we've had as well this year too. So it's a combination of both of those. They've gotten a little more expensive to do, and obviously we don't have control of that. There's just a handful of people in the state actually that do this. We have been talking with Radiant to see if we can partner with them and get some of these done, and we've been able to do that. But I don't know if you're familiar with their situation. They've got staffing issues with psychologists or psychiatrists as well, and so there's only limited amount of time that they have too. So it's kind of a combination, Mr. Caudell, in terms of the costs have increased a little bit, and we're doing more of them.
Just a question. Do you know what the original appropriation for the account was? This is $10,000 in addition to what we had originally.
I do. So it was 40,200.
Okay. So roughly 25%.
Yes,
All
yeah,
right.
about 25%.
Thank you.
The only question I had was about the juror meals, so you have to pay for those coming from the jail? You don't feed the,
No. This is for, this is for the jurors, so.
yeah, you're not feeding them jail food? No.
Yeah, no, yeah. Usually it's Jimmy John's because it's freaky fast and freaky good.
Yeah, right on.
And actually, they will take a credit card and will come and deliver them
Yeah.
to us. So it's usually Jimmy John's or
Sure.
pizza. That's what we're.
Right on.
So they're not getting steak dinners.
Yeah, right on.
It's hard work being a juror.
Yes. All right, the chair will entertain a motion regarding this additional appropriation.
So moved, Mr. President.
All right. Moved by Mr. Brinkle and a second. Mr. Hicks. Yes, Mr. Hicks. Anybody have any other questions?
I think I saw the advertise, we did advertise this already, right? I think I saw that, okay, all right.
I think this one's ready to go. All right, any questions from the public? If not, then all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Right, thank you. One question I have, do I need to come back because this is an additional or am I done tonight?
Should be, it's been advertised. Should be
Good tonight.
done.
Been advertised, I believe you're done.
Excellent,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Yep. The next item that we had on the agenda for the Grant County Sheriff, we actually deferred that. We're gonna talk about the commissary fund next month, because I thought this meeting might go long, and I thought we might discuss the commissary fund for a longer amount of time. And then we had an item of new business regarding, let's see what I got on this. Redevelopment Commission. I think that's probably gonna be Mr. Harker and maybe Mr. Middlesworth.
Sure. Yeah, where do you want to start? The redevelopment commission?
Yeah.
At the meeting on Monday, the commissioners adopted a resolution formally establishing the Grant County Redevelopment Commission. It's a 5-member board that will consist of 3 members appointed by the commissioners, 2 by the council, and 1 non-voting member, which must be a representative from a school district in the county. So that has been passed by the commissioners. They will get into their process on putting in those appointments, and we are here to request the council do so as well, so we can get that redevelopment commission started.
And personally, my request would be to appoint 2 of your board members to the redevelopment commission.
2 council members.
That'd be my recommendation.
Don't need to if you have 2 other members, do you? You see
I mean,
what
that's up to the current president's rules.
Right.
I think we could certainly do that. I think we all have a lot of obligations to do, and what's another one for 2 of you?
Shane, how does this differ than I can't remember what we called it, but at the time when the economic development, I call it a nursing home, I don't know if that's the proper term or not, but out by it, like an economic development commission or something that we had established and then went away. So is this different than that? Is
Yeah,
it the
this
same
is different
thing,
than
or-
that. This
okay.
is a group that is formed by the commissioners. I believe that was formed by the council, but this is the RDA, wasn't it?
EDC is residential. May I try to answer that question?
Absolutely.
The Economic Development Commission generally tends to go towards the residential tax abatements, residential TIFs, not tax abatement, excuse me, which in Gas City, we have a few, so we have had to ask for you to approve our appointment to the EDC, which you have. So a redevelopment commission is a completely different body, and it basically is the county's creating that so they can establish their own TIF districts.
So the commission that we established for that facility is no longer in place.
So this is, as Mr. Whitfield mentioned, this is the first step, the redevelopment commission. There's a second body that will need to be formed later. That's the Economic Development Commission, EDC. That is the funding wing, should the county ever seek to, as Mr. Whitfield said, pursue economic development TIF bonds. That body, and I believe that body is a 5-member organization as well, with 3 appointed from the council and 2 from the commissioners, since you guys are the fiscal body.
Which we did have at one point, but we rescinded that.
Yeah, I guess is there a reason we're doing this now or asking to have this done now?
It's been recommended by our economic development advisor. This is one of the tools that we need to have available to us to bring economic development projects to the county. In particular, we just spent $55,000 on the feasibility study for an undeveloped interstate exit, and that this body is a good way to help jumpstart that.
I guess I'll make the comment, I'm not generally in favor of TIF unless there's some real reason to have that done. So, while I want economic development, but I want that to be done because they feel like they're gonna make their profit and they have their business that's ongoing, they can afford to do what they have to do to make money. So, just I'm not opposed to economic development, obviously, but not to give it away.
We're a ways away from.
Okay, so that's why I'm hesitant on this. Why is this coming to me now? Is there something that we need to be aware of that's out there on the horizon that we're looking at this point?
So, this is just building the foundation.
Correct. Should we have had some time to maybe talk about it before? I mean, I just saw this tonight. Wasn't on the agenda. I just saw it tonight.
We're under no time constraints at this point. We would bring it to you, let everybody make sure they're aware of what's going on.
Because I guess I'd like to maybe hear more about really what it's going to do, why, and that conversation, I guess. But
Really, the only request tonight is to appoint the members to the board. The RDC's already been established.
so we're not even taking action to do this.
No, all we're requesting is for you.
Okay, the commissioners did this and they can't do it without our input, so to speak.
Right.
Okay, all right. That clarifies something then. Because we aren't actually acting to do it at this point. You guys have already done it. Okay. Okay. That makes more sense to me then.
So I guess at this point, all we're looking for would be 2 members that are gonna serve on this redevelopment commission.
Yeah, I was thinking there had to be some action on our part as well, but if there's not, then it's out of that scope.
I will say that our economic developer, Augusta Consulting, we did attend, not we, but he did attend a Select USA. It's a large international meeting, so to speak, of foreign investments. He met with over 30 different foreign investors. There will be a press release. We got some prospects in the pipeline. Right now it's high level, but there is some promise with a couple different investors. And the RDC will be a tool to funnel them into Grant County. And given the Trump tariffs and the different things going on in the economy, we need to try to entice businesses as much as we can to come to Grant County. This is just one part of the puzzle. But be looking for the press release. I'll email to you guys promising. We was represented at U.S. level, international level. So we're getting our name out there as far as Grant County goes.
Thank you. And then what I might do under old business, I'd go to Pam Harris because she had something, and then we'll bring you guys back. I think she had an additional appropriation from the Clerk's Perpetuation Fund, and I believe that was here last month, but we had to advertise it. And I don't think anything has changed in your request? No. Okay. Everything's the same. So your request, the estimated cost of the first part of this digitation or digitalizing of the records is $260,916.85, of which you're wanting to use your funds to do.
Right.
Which might only be about 20% of the records, I think, as we had discussed at the last meeting.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I believe I did send you, the body, an email explaining, going in a little bit more detail as to what what those records were. But yeah, but it's just the perpetuation fund to digitize, get started. But like I mentioned at our last meeting, that this is all I'm going to be able to do. It will be on the clerk who follows me if they decide to pursue it any further. So.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion regarding this appropriation of her funds.
I guess before we get to that, just a couple questions, maybe it was answered and I forgot, but were bids put out for this?
I did speak with another company also, yes, and this is the one that we decided to go with.
That
yes.
you felt was the best?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you would enter into, if this is approved, then you would enter into a contract with that company?
Yeah, my next
those
step
services.
would be to go back to our commissioners concerning the contract.
And you're gonna take a good chunk of this balance. It typically has been a fairly healthy, but I don't think it's used very often.
Yeah, that's true.
There's gonna be a new clerk coming in, so I just wanna make sure you feel good about not strapping that new clerk
Yeah,
with.
no, there's a healthy balance left there, and like I said last time, every month it's added to. I think last month the balance was $285,262, and today when I checked, it's $288,991 and some odd cents. So it's added to every day as the images are purchased.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
We had a little question last time, I guess, about the records that are gonna be digitized. Did we have a good feel for what they were? Did it make sense for those to be digitized, I guess? So, we resolved that question. David, you had some comments in our meeting last time.
I haven't received, I don't know anything since.
Nothing
last
different,
meeting.
okay.
No, nothing different, no.
But you feel good about, Pam, what this is gonna do to take
I
care
sure
of
do.
that segment of your record?
Yes, I do. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I think the biggest question was the year, right? That it would go back to.
Yeah, they go back, we had estimated like 2018, but they actually go back further than that, yes.
It was more on the type of record as opposed to the year, I think, is kind of what that was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll entertain a motion regarding this clerk's perpetuation fund additional appropriation.
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. Brankel makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, second by Mr. McCord. Anybody else have additional comments? Anybody from the public have any comments, questions regarding? Hearing none, seeing none. Would all those in favor please signify by saying aye?
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you
And
for coming.
Thank you also, sir.
All right, next is the Grant County Commissioners with Shane Middlesworth and perhaps Mr. Harker.
Good evening. On the first item, resolution on the building acquisition. I circulated a memo. We had this set on the agenda for the last meeting. And the commissioners have determined that the county needs additional building space. And in order to acquire real estate, there are certain processes that must be complied with. We have to have 2 appraisals. And they've circulated that along with a proposed resolution. And so we're here to ask for that to be, for that process to start. The fiscal body has to approve this process, and the commissioners go out and obtain the appraisals. And so we would ask that the council approve this resolution allowing things to progress.
I don't have a copy of that resolution.
It's our last meeting packet.
Oh,
I've got
but
mine.
Oh,
is there a certain piece of property you're looking at, or is this just giving you the ability to search?
No, this is on,
I don't have that memo, I don't think I.
It's 101 East Third Street, Mary.
101 East Third.
There's a parcel number. We got it last meeting.
Okay.
So I want to give you this, give them the summary here. So we're looking to buy Mr. Glickfield's building.
Ah, I remember now. Okay, gotcha.
And this resolution is in order to have the building appraised. We're not committed to buying it at this point. The commissioners believe that it's worthy of acquiring, and I have a list of reasons that are hypothetical of what it could do as far as an asset to help alleviate some pressure that's in the courthouse. But really, the resolution's just giving us the ability to go out and have the appraisal. Obviously, we'd have to come back for the funding.
Okay, gotcha.
But if you want me to go over just the building plan a little bit, or
I remember that resolution, or that memo now.
Okay.
And I guess just from the standpoint, you understand the financial constraints that we may be under. I mean, at least it gives you information, but I don't think it'd be any guarantee from this body that the purchase could go through. I mean, depending on the information, certainly that we have in front of us to be able to purchase property.
yeah, no, absolutely. This is just one step in the process, and I think that we should do a legal due diligence to make sure that this is, it's kind of like farm ground. Mr. Brinker, you know, and Mr. Hicks, you only normally get one opportunity to buy a piece of land that adjoins you. It is downtown, the building's ready to go, and I think that it would, could possibly bring value to help offset alleviate some issues within the courthouse as far as space available in future renovation projects. So it's just something I think that we should at least have appraised to know what the value is.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the appraisal process. I don't want to be committed to purchase. Like we've had some conversation. I want to make sure that it's something that, as we see the space that's available, how does that fit within our need? What do we see that really being used for? How does that alleviate whatever pressures we're having? And I need to be, I guess, sold on what that's going to be before I would say yes to actually buying it. That's what I would say. And of course, the price is important as well.
No, absolutely.
Is that something, Commissioner, you think you could provide the council of a detail of how that space looks, kind of a plan that, how that would all function?
No, absolutely. I mean, I have kind of like the high level plan, if you'd like for me to just kind of go over it real quick. Obviously, public defenders trying to move to more full time. They have very little office space in the courthouse, and they need more space. The building could allow for each attorney to have his or her own office. They wouldn't be squeezed into extra spaces. Obviously, the same could be said for their staff. They would have substantially more room and privacy when they're interviewing their clients. The potential to move the prosecutor's office to the new building as well. Community corrections is a possibility. Currently, the referee position, from what I hear, is going really well based on the early results. However, I feel like maybe there's potential that it could get very crowded, and we'll have a large number of people in that basement hallway waiting their turn for court, which could create some serious safety issues as inmates are coming in through that hallway. And so they will also need places to sit to wait on the referee court. Personally, my idea would be to shift Soup 2 to the new space, and then the referee court can be in a much bigger space, also on the same floor as Soup 3, which would be very helpful for the prosecutors and defense counsel, as they would not be constantly going back and forth between the third and in the ground, thus saving wear and tear on the elevators. Obviously, Judgment Vicar would have all of his staff on the same floor. And then when I believe Mr. Spitzer maybe talked about when where we're at in line for a new court. I believe that the state did approve 7 courts, so we're probably in number 5th in line for a new court. And so that means that Grant County could possibly receive that new court. And so the only available space for that courtroom would be where the prosecutor's office is. A courtroom like Suite 2, if the referee position does its job, then we may not need it. But just planning ahead, and like I say, there's a lot of dominoes that have to happen, but I think it gives us the ability to be flexible, obviously depending on the price and what you gentlemen feel comfortable with.
Would the cost of the appraisal come from the commissioner's budget then?
Correct.
I'm willing to listen. I just don't want to buy more space unless we need more space, and you have to maintain it when you buy it, so that's a cost. But if we need to consider it. Information's important.
Yeah, it sounds like tonight you just need our blessing on moving forward with an appraisal.
Correct.
Did you make a motion or not?
No, I haven't waited on him to ask for it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't think so,
You
but I
can
was
certainly
like,
make a motion, should you choose.
Well, I'll make that motion, Mr. President. I think I made a lot of them tonight. I'm not trying to butt anybody out, but I'm willing to make that motion.
Helps the meeting move.
Yeah.
take them all if you need to.
Thank you, Mr. Brankel. Mr. Brankel makes a motion to approve the process of moving forward to get appraisals, of which you'll have to get at least 2.
2, correct.
I'll second.
All right, second by Mr. Caudell. Any other further discussion or questions regarding this resolution? Since we have 2 sitting judges in the, I don't know if you feel like there's space limitations in our current courthouse or anything like that? Maybe?
No one has talked to me about this plan, so this is coming from the start today.
Okay, new information.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. Nothing from the crowd, then we have a motion by Mr. Brankel and a second by Mr. Caudell. Guess all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll
Thank you.
be sure to keep you informed.
All right, next we have a jail update.
Absolutely. I believe BW Construction and Consulting is available, as well as RQAW. Pass it to you.
Good evening, gentlemen. For the record, Pete Peterson, Vice President of Building and Places, RQAW DCCM, Fishers, Indiana. I also have Bill Galvin from BW Construction here, as well as Oscar Gutierrez, who's going to run through some financial information when needed at the end. I think we have that queued up. At least they told us the presentation would be here. No? We had it the other day for the commissioner meeting, so it said they'd have it queued up for us. Got it somewhere, Bill, where we could send it maybe, so we can get it pulled up? It'd be electronic for sure.
That one?
I can't, that's way too small, but that's okay. Yep, you got it, perfect. That will work. So on Monday of this week, we were in front of the jail committee giving the schematic design report to that particular committee. Thank you. And so here is the schematic design report. The actual report was some 75 pages long. We've obviously called this down to kind of bring it on the high points here, so hopefully I hit the right button. There we go. So we're going to show you schematic design plans, some renderings, Bill will get into, I don't know what happened there.
No, he shared it.
Okay, got it. So, some price estimates here, and then we'll get into and then no renovations essentially in the white areas. Where we will have to add on, you can see kind of an ancillary box out there next to the tan box there. That's for kitchen freezers and refrigeration units. That's going to go on the outside of the building, so that'll actually be a new construction piece there as well. The second floor of this facility, again, the white areas aren't being touched. The green areas are going to only get moderate updates, and it's really nothing more than some MEP updates. And if you need more questions as to what that may be, we can certainly get you those provided answers. Again, this is just a quick rendering of the front of the building. You know, we're going to try to come in off the existing spaces that are there. You can see the new pod laying next to where the canopy front is. Again, this is only representation only. None of this has been priced in to this particular transaction. We're just trying to give you guys a visual what this facility may look like once you add that pod on. Another view from this using the existing D-home. The pod is off to the back. And then again, a further away view so you can kind of capture that entire facility. Again, that pod is obviously the major portion of that, which includes housing. So I'm going to put this over to Bill, since this is more to his area.
So current estimate on this right now is 74,665,593. Last concept was around 75,679,776. We've increased it to 440 beds per the request, with the addition of the juvenile beds at 14. It's still a conservative estimate. It's been greatly reduced from what I think was proposed a year or so ago. Right now, it's very, very conservative on the MEP. There needs to be more investigative work, and we're compounding the contingencies with subcontractor input to bring the cost down. So we're here tonight to give you guys an update, and if you have any additional questions, we're happy to meet outside or provide any more detail for you.
Any questions before we let Oscar kind of come up here and talk as it relates to design and or these? And I want to emphasize, this is at the end of schematic design, and you know, in order to get to a guaranteed maximum price under the BOT, you're going to need a lot more design that's going to have to be done. You're going to have to at least get through design development and into probably some construction drawings, particularly in foundations and MEP, in order to really hone in on where those costs are going to actually end up. So I do think this is a very conservative estimate. There are a number of contingencies that are involved in this, and we fully detailed the jail committee on those contingencies that were there, so they understand that this could come down significantly once we get through the rest of design.
So the estimate is just the construction, does not include any financing.
No, this is full.
So it'll be financing as well.
Correct. Yeah, I know you can't see that because it's small, and I don't think it's showing on that part of it. We can certainly make this available to you. I know the jail committee had received the full report, so they can certainly share that as well, but we can make sure we share that over, get it to you folks as necessary.
This is a quick, you don't have that paper, Mike, but the hard cost is like 58.3 million on this schedule. Soft cost is roughly 10 million. And the contingencies are about 6.5 roughly million in there. Make up that total of 74.6.
So what would our interest be?
Well, this is not interest.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, when we actually sell the debt, you'll know what that is, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not interest, this is soft cost as far as design engineering, the cost of getting to the debt process, but not the interest part.
That's what I had referred to when you said yes. I asked if this financing was included in this. So whatever that interest is, we're gonna have on top of.
Yeah, that, again, from this standpoint, you're talking about design, legal, financing costs in order to do that. If you're gonna float the bond, obviously there's bond costs that go along with that. That is included in the soft cost, but there's no interest cost. We have no idea what that's gonna be because the bonds hadn't even been issued and they're trying to be sold. So.
And do you have a rough estimate of what we would be looking at potentially on?
Of what interest would be?
Yeah.
I have not done that calculation, so I can't tell you that. And I know we use roughly 4.25% with it. He may have that number. 4.25% was kind of the number we were using, I think, 4.3 maybe, to estimate what that is, but I don't know what that actual interest number is offhand. Oscar may have that, I don't know.
Before he starts, can I just ask you a quick question?
Sure.
What's the timeline of all this? So if we get everything done this year and you break ground and start, what's the timeline?
So you probably still have at least 4 months left to design to do before you can even get to that point where these guys can go out there and do the estimates and get everything done. And then they've just got to coordinate, right? So we had 4 months on plus another month for probably 6 weeks for bidding. On top of that, we're getting into winter. So I don't know when you could start, but you're at least at a 2-year construction or at least 18 months, I would assume. 18 months.
So you don't start until 2026 and you're at 2 years, or you're at
18 months from there.
And we're gonna get a lower interest rate because they're getting ready to drop the rates again twice this year, so.
Sure. Oscar, is that a guarantee?
No.
No.
That's the rumor though, right, sir?
No. I wish it was.
I follow a different spectrum than he does. My spectrum say we're dropping the rates twice a year.
So what I was asked to do today, well, let me begin by saying for Oscar Gutierrez, Bond Consulting, for the record, but what I was asked to do today is, instead of coming up with financing options, instead of coming up with interest rates, let's focus on what's on everybody's mind, which is Senate Bill 1, and how that's going to affect this. And what is that going to do to your operations overall at the county? What revenue loss are you looking at, and how can you make them up? So what I did is I took LSA's projections on what the future projected losses are of your property tax levy collections. In 2026, you're going to see roughly about $1 million. In 27, 1.2. And you'll notice that without providing a lot of information, LSA just showed on there that you guys would be losing roughly $3.1 million in 2028, which is something, you know, that would cost anybody to take a pause. The reason that is such a drastic drop is because you are losing your property tax relief, which is currently roughly $2 million before supplemental. You sometimes get more depending on your supplemental rate, but today it's roughly $2 million. So the $1 million loss is pretty consistent. And I'll explain how that all gets made up with lit. Currently, the county has a county lit council where it is, the deciding votes are based on the population of each entity, and you get an appropriate percent of that vote based on that population. That body will cease to exist in July 1st of 2027. So starting July 1st of 2027, different units will have the ability to incorporate their own tax rates, and they'll have a maximum that they can do. So what I did is I looked at what would the county need to keep roughly the $11 million of lit, which is currently collecting. So you guys are currently collecting around $11.8 million. So if you look at current lit revenues on that, that's what you currently collect. Out of that $11 million, that is the $2 million, the $2 million 73 figure is included in that. So what's happening right now is $2 million of the lit dollars that you receive goes back into the property tax relief, which you get back in a property tax collection. So in 2027 or 2028 will be the first year you get that. If you were to collect the $11 million in 2028 and you were to lose the $2 million in the property tax relief, you would still be collecting them on the lit collection, because out of the $11.8 million, I just want you to think about this, $2 million are going to property tax right now, and they would just be staying there. So at the end of the day, that $2 million loss that looks pretty dramatic on the property taxes is offset by you guys just keeping it on the lit side, because that program is going to be void statewide. So if you were to actually max out what you can incorporate in lit, which just about every unit is going to, because that's sort of what the legislature is forcing everybody to do, is the county will be receiving roughly a total of $17 million, which is just a little under $6 million, give or take. I mean, the math's not perfect. So we got to account for the average median, the incomes and population. So the math's not perfect, but between $5 and $6 million is a good number of additional revenue that the county will have if they max out their lit rate. And that power will be entirely within this body. I'm not making any recommendations. I just want to give you guys the facts of the decisions that you'll have to make between now and 2027, is that you'll have to determine the rate that you will have to impose on the income taxes. And so to summarize this, you guys are losing about $1 million every year. It looks like 3 and 28, but realistically it's about 1, because you lose it, but you get it back in the lit. You can easily, without maxing out what you can do, go back to that $11 million. And I didn't put all the rates and all the charts, because I was told to keep it into 1 page and 3 points. But I can give you guys like a 30-page report with all the math. But if you were to max it out, you would be getting roughly $17 million, which gets you about $6 million more, 5 to 6. The range is there. And I wanted to remind you that if there is a projected annual savings, and I was corrected last time that it wasn't really a savings, that it was a reallocation, and terminology, whatever you want to call it, if the county ceases to stop paying to transport inmates to other counties or other jails, there would be that would generate $1.3 million that can be allocated somewhere else. So, which is roughly 15 to 20 million. A number that is not on here that you probably are wondering is, if you were to finance this at the last number run that I did, to do $70 million was roughly $4.9 million is what we came back last time. I'm hesitant to start running any numbers, because that number could potentially go down and interest rates could go either way. So as you guys want me to start running numbers and you feel more comfortable on the numbers that you want me to run, I'm happy to do that at any time. And I'll geek out at any of you guys and sit down and spend as much time as you want. But I would not be doing you a service by running something today on a number that is not going to be the number. So I just want to offer that up, that if you want me to run specific scenarios, I'm happy to do that. But I felt that my time would be best served for you guys today to address the concern, which is what happens when you guys have to take over and decide your own income tax, and what does that look like, and can we, if we maximize it, is there enough to pay for this? And hopefully you guys can kind of frame that here, and I can come up with scenarios there, but I'll stop there and see if you have any questions. Again, I just wanted to give you guys a more of a high-level overview that's easy to read.
So can you, for my benefit, can you give me an explanation of lit? How's it collected? Who's paying it? Because I'm new to this, and I don't fully understand that.
Excellent question. So all local government units have two major sources of revenue. One is property taxes,
Right.
which, if you own a parcel, you'll see the calculations and deductions, and that's what Senate Bill 1 is really moving, because the supplemental deduction will go up to 66%. So regardless of what the value of anybody's property tax is, they're going to be cut by 66%, which a lot of people, if they're at the circuit breaker, they're not going to see a 66% break. You'll just see a lower circuit breaker impact. But that's really dorky, I don't want to get into it. So that's property taxes. Local income taxes are what you pay on your check. So anytime that you declare the county that you live in to your employer, there is a state amount, which is about 3%, goes to the state, and then each county has their own rate that they set. And then that comes out of individuals' checks based on that percentage that they're getting paid. It gets collected by, depending on how people get paid. The employer usually sends the check to the state hangs on to it, and the current process is they just bundle it up, toss it all to Grant County, and the way that the current formula works is the higher your property tax collection is, the higher your local income taxes collection is. The legislature realized that that is not really fair, because you could have all the wealthy people in this community, and you can collect a lot of property taxes on this other community, and it's being unfairly distributed. So, I believe that the way that most legislators call it is like, you eat what you kill. So that doesn't really apply to counties, because counties still collect from everybody. There's really not, because you're collecting from everyone. But for example, there'll be disparities between some of the local units in how they collect the income taxes. And one of the decisions that this body will have to make in 2027 is how you address libraries and townships, because at that point, that power is going to be within this body if you choose to give them what they're currently collecting, more than they're currently collecting, or not giving them anything. And that is separate from your max. That will be a special units tax that you will have to determine, and the libraries and the townships will have to come before this body and make their case. So there's a lot of changes, and those are all tied to Senate Bill 1 and the income taxes changes.
Just a simple statement on that, though, Mr. Brankel, is if you are a taxpayer in Grant County,
yes,
when you do your state return, whatever your taxable income is, that amount times our local income tax rate is what you'll pay.
Okay.
It gets divided up.
So each county can only collect, and then it's distributed to the towns. Is there a formula for that, or how's that?
Yeah, and that's the one that's going away, and it will be based, so now it will just be the percent that you give. Everybody in the county will just pay that, it'll be collected, and so if it's 1%, it'll be 1.2 is your max. But if you do your 1.2% max, 1.2% of everybody's income will come back to the county, which is, in our projections, roughly $17 million.
What is our current?
2.55 is what we currently charge.
But that's for all units.
That's right now, the money that we collect in this county for the income, local income tax, gets shared with the cities and towns,
Yes.
the libraries, the townships, and us. Beginning in page 28, what he's saying is, whatever we have set as a tax for us, for Grant County, it'll go just to Grant County. In other words, we aren't gonna give it to the city of Marion or the city of, none of the cities and towns will get it, none of the townships will get it, once the change becomes effective.
The towns will be able to do their own.
They can do their own, yeah.
Their own maximum, and they'll be responsible for their maximum.
If there are 3,500 people or more, they get to do their own.
So they can establish their own lit rate.
They will.
And what'll happen,
They have to.
they're the small, and he referred to this, the small towns, and they will be able to receive money if we put it at a tax rate for them. They won't get it unless we put it in there as a separate piece.
Now, this is something that's being debated, and, it'd be unfair to you not to mention it. The this body will also be able to lower other units, which other units aren't pleased by that, and legislature's talking about the fairness of that, but this body will have full control over the overall tax rate. So if you say city or town X, that's too much, you can knock them down. And there's an argument right now being made that it's unfair for this body to have that level of power, but you will have it. And, because it goes against the eat what you kill, because then you're still being told.
And it's been said too, there probably will be some changes to the law next year and the year after before 2028 becomes effective. So we don't know what that's going to be yet. And I guess I want to say this too. I didn't know for sure what our cap was going to be until we met tonight and had some discussion. 1.2 appears to be our cap, effective in pay 28, it sounds like.
Correct.
So what I need to do, and Oscar's already done some of this, I want to sit down with the numbers and kind of compare to what we get now and what that 1.2 will do for us based on current conditions. He's got the numbers here, and they're probably right. I'm going to do the calculations to make sure.
And I have that, and have a scenario where you enact a 0.02, and I have a scenario where you enact a, you can go higher than the, but then it goes back down if you want to do a public safety. So I have all those scenarios as well.
Right.
I have pages and pages. I just wanted to keep it simple and digestible.
And these numbers are encouraging. It shows us making up more than we're going to lose. That's what it shows.
It's not always the case.
But it doesn't have to be, but it can be, it looks like.
Yeah.
What does that increase look like to that employee? I mean.
Technically, it's a decrease. You guys are higher than that, so it will depend on what the other units that can impose on that.
Is it only the employee paying that, or does the business owner pay a portion into that as well?
That's the employee.
Just the employee. This won't affect development. Businesses aren't, we're not gonna run a business off by increasing this rate.
Your rate is currently at the max, so the 0.02 is outside of that, and then last year you guys were able to go 0.05 above that. And that's because of all the different stacks that you have. So I just wanted to focus on what you guys are currently collecting to function and not what everybody else has. Because you have so many different things going into it, that's why it's higher, but it will be lower to 1.2, which is what everybody in the state will be maxed out at. And most counties will max it out because most of them are in your situation where it's going up.
What we don't know yet is what's going to happen with all the deductions as they change between now and when it becomes reality. We don't know for sure.
Oh yeah, this could be scrapped next year, but we have to work off of what
we know. Yeah.
But it will change. But I think that eat what you kill, they're pretty set on that, and there might be some tweaks about how much power this body has, but they seem pretty happy with that piece so far. I've tried.
It's complex.
I tried to go argue with the legislators. I think I'm not allowed there.
And you put it in simple terms. I think it's just there are a lot of gaps in there, a lot of variables to consider.
But I know what you're asking. I do have those calculations.
Well, I can look at what we currently have in our structure, and I can project that what. So I can do that. I didn't know our 1.2 is going to be our cap going into tonight. So I'm learning that tonight.
So I think at the end of the day, from what we're here, we're just here to inform where we've been, and the jail committee's been fully apprised. We're not asking this body to make any decisions tonight. We're just bringing you where we're at on this plan and what we've delivered to the jail committee. Next, it's going to be up to the commissioners whether they want to proceed forward and continue to use the ARPA funds to do design, to try to hone in on that number there. And then they've asked us to the jail committee asked us to take a look at a couple other things which are currently underway, so we're not asking this body to do anything tonight. I just want to make sure you guys understand that. Really just more of an informative session, make sure you guys had full ability to ask any and all questions and be as utmost and transparent as we could in this process.
And I appreciate everything that you brought before us today. And Oscar, thank you for preparing this as well. Knowing that Grant County is one of the highest taxed counties in the state of Indiana, I certainly have my concerns when I hear words such as increasing to the max allowable.
It's significantly lower than what you
would it be possible when time comes? I know this sometimes can become difficult because scenarios are going to change. But I'm just sitting here thinking, is it going to be possible that we could get an idea of, say, for every $50,000 of wages earned, this is what that employee is going to look at paying.
It's a simple calculation, yes. You can wait till.
Or $100,000 in assessed value. Senate Bill 1 is going to affect that homeowner and property taxes by this amount.
Yeah, we can.
We could, that would be easy enough to get.
And yeah.
Because really, those are the two things at this point that I'm gonna be most interested in hearing.
But, I mean, people will definitely get relief on property taxes by 2020. I mean, at a 60% cut, I mean, it's, no matter how you spend it, I mean, they're getting a break.
But how much more are they gonna be paying in income tax?
Well, that will depend on the other cities where they live and how much they put in there. And whether or not and how much you put in on top for special units like the library. And so it's a stack.
But we know how much cities and towns are gonna be allowed to increase. So at least we could do our own projections. We know what the county will be. We could assume maybe that City of Marion is going to increase to the max, and we would know what that is going to look like as well.
Yeah, so what will be different in the thought process is that the City of Marion may not have to increase it as much because they have more residents that are paying into it, so their rate, they may not have to max it out to collect equal or more. So it's just, do they want to double what they're making? You know, that's an option. But some communities, even if they max theirs out, they'll still be receiving less. So there will be winners and losers depending on the level of, because I mean, it's only going to be the people within your circle. And right now it's countywide, it's based on the greatest need by how much they collect in property taxes. So the formula is flawed, but there'll be winners and losers, and depending on some individuals in some towns may be paying more than others, depending on where their local bodies land. And whether or not they have a local library or township, if you ask how much you actually give those folks. So you gotta look at the overall total, but again, this body's gonna have to you have a lot of angry people no matter what. I don't wanna be in your shoes. Good luck to you. I'm never running for office.
I think the only deal with this one is, things are probably gonna change before it becomes law.
Right. Well, this is already law. I mean, the law may
change again.
It's evolving.
A year, next session. Yeah. And the other thing too, I thought the commissioners were gonna be looking at perhaps asking for, I mean, kind of choking on the $75 million number. And so I think that's one of the scenarios that they were going back with, was trying to trim that down in order to make it more palatable from a financial standpoint. Because again, I feel like we're at a good position in the fact that we didn't commit to this. If we were a year ago and we'd committed to this, I'd be a lot more worried. But at the same time, there's still changes that'll be made at the state level that's going to affect us, I believe, and our funding.
Well, this is mine too. One of the things that's going to be changed, and you can do it now, I guess, but we don't have to. Beginning in that pay 28 cycle, every year we have to take action to put that tax into effect, whatever that is.
And that it will hopefully change, because that actually will affect everybody's credit rating, because, so a lot of units are allowing to do it once, and you can change it, but you don't have to do it every year.
Reapprove, yeah.
Right now you have to reapprove it the way it's written at this point.
So a lot of communities use their local income tax to issue debt, and that would just demonstrate. Yeah. I mean, Fisher would be one example.
Yes.
The credit would just go up.
You asked a question, Mr. Scott, a little bit ago before we started this, about interest, using the $60 million number. And what we've been given was a 25-year payment on that is roughly $4.2 million per year. Take that times the 25 years, you're paying $105 million. So it's $45 million in interest. 105 million minus 60 would be 45 million. That's a rough number that's at the $60 million number.
If you were to do that with your home, it'd be pretty equivalent. And I would love to borrow and buy a house in the 4% range right now, but it's all about this bigger number.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a big number.
And again, I can't emphasize enough on the contingency level there, and I think Councilman already pointed this out, right? There's a lot of contingency there. It's about $6 or $7 million worth of contingency. The way to remove that contingency is to get further on in design, get it honed in, so that the constructors can actually be more detailed and concise with what those costs would be. So we believe that number will go down once we continue with design to move forward.
Yeah, the number we won't know until they go forward.
Right. And then at that point, then you're gonna be probably asked to do something once we get there. But again, no action tonight.
I don't know if anybody else has any. What I'll do too, we've just gotten this on Monday, and I'll make sure that all you guys get a copy of this packet, so that when you can't sleep, you'll have something to read.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One final thing, there is a deadline if you wanted to collect a .02 for the jail lit, there is a deadline for that you may consider, and I think don't quote me, I'll get back to you. I'm gonna say it's August, but I don't wanna misquote my.
Yeah, and there's something we were supposed to, maybe it's a June deadline, there's a date where you have to notify the DLGF of your intent to put that on, so we need to make sure we know what that date is.
If that is a desire to do that, and, I mean, that's.
We need to be aware of that, so if we need to move forward, we have.
And you could always just do that in the future as well, so.
Yeah.
You may have.
Yeah, one of the things the committee did discuss is setting a meeting for a work session. And maybe we should have a joint meeting, a work session to discuss lit. That'd be fine with the commissioners, but I think obviously the council needs to have a special session of such to have the experts come in and to deep dive lit and what changes need to be made.
I agree.
I know I want to do some calculations. Now that I know about that 1.2 cap, I want to do some calculations to see how that compares with current numbers and how that might be projected. So I feel like I can develop my comfort level of what the revenue piece could be.
Yeah, the issue is how much property tax are you really gonna lose, though?
Yeah, well, and I don't think we really know that for sure, but I can know what the income tax piece could be. I don't know what the property tax is gonna be at this point. But I can calculate what the income tax piece is based on that cap.
Yeah.
And we, one of our key pieces as we were considering financing debt for this project was having the savings in the general fund of roughly 1.3 million a year for out-of-county transports. So that's probably not gonna be there at this point. So bottom line is, can our lit replace that if we choose to go that route? And I'm gonna guess based on this, it probably can, but I need to do the calculations in my mind to make sure I feel good about that.
And Councilman Kitts, that's the property tax losses are the first portion here, so which is roughly $1 million, 1.2, and then it goes up to 3, but, and that's based on LSA's calculations. We can run it specifically to you guys, where we check out circuit breaker, but we've been not too far off from what they are. I mean, it's usually, nothing that, it hasn't been millions, is what I'm saying. We can do that calculation, but it's easier to rely on LSA for right now. But the $3 million number in 28, it looks scary, but you get it back in a different form.
Great. I feel like I need to mention as well, that $1.3 million is not, again, it's not a historical number. It's something we faced the last 2 years.
Right, it's more current.
And hopefully with the changes that we've made, what we have enacted, alleviates the jail overcrowding. And then we get back to the way normal was, what I would call normal as that is. And we're not paying those out of county.
Well, remember when we approved that position with the referee court, the calculation, we had to drop our daily jail count by 25 just to break even with that expense.
Thank you for coming, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next, we have committee reports. And one of the reports I was gonna give kind of actually dovetails on what Mr. McWhort was talking about, having to do with, maybe reducing jail population. In the last 90 days, which ended April 30th, the number of closed felony criminal cases was 413, which was at 120% level compared to what was opened. Opened was 325, closed was 413, which meant that we were making headway on felony criminal cases. And Judge Spitzer, who might have left now, was at that meeting and said, so he's kind of looking at the 413 maybe as a baseline level, so that would be a level then that we look at going forward. to say, okay, we need to be closing more than 413 on that quarterly basis, and that would be the impact of that referee court. And so I felt like the 127% was probably better than what we've been doing in the past. And so I felt like the bar was set a little bit higher than maybe what I would have thought, but anyway, that's a good number. It's positive anyway.
Heading in the right direction.
Yeah, heading in the right direction, and again, I want to thank the commissioners for getting together that extra courtroom so quickly in the basement of the courthouse. I think that came together rather quickly, and the technology working to get that done as well. Again, teamwork, making the dream work there. So I don't know if anybody else had any comments or questions.
Do we have to do something with this?
I saw it sitting there, and quite honestly, I hadn't had a chance to look at it, because I had a meeting before it. Oh, is that with the Chief PD pay within? So it's, what was that, $325? Or was it something different? $345. So this would actually be saying that we need to change that pay amount to increase it by $345. Is that what it looks like? Okay.
See, I haven't really read through it either, that's what the difference is.
Do we need to actually add it to the agenda and then take a vote on it, or do we just need to?
And then, is that an additional appropriation?
No, it's a salary
Just a
ordinance.
salary ordinance.
So it should be increased as soon as possible, whatever that is.
Yeah, I would have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
Have it advertised, or at least the agendas published, so the public knows.
Okay. All right.
Is this a statutory that we have to, or is this an opinion?
It's not statute, you're talking about the increase, it's not statutory. It is the Indiana Public Defender or Counsel reimbursement requirement that the positions be parallel to the prosecutor's office. As you know, we get 40% reimbursement from the state of Indiana as long as we stay within the guidelines they set. So it's really their guidelines that we're being asked to follow.
So if we don't increase by $345, they're going to withhold 40% from us?
Potential.
I would think that would be silly of them.
Good though.
Yeah, I mean, potentially.
$80,000.
We've always had these questions in the past about what would happen if we didn't meet this
Yeah.
number, but this is a small enough number, we probably just gotta meet it and move on.
I don't know if I'd take that chance over
Yeah.
$45. I would agree. We'll probably just put it on the agenda.
We have had those conversations in the past about, what does this really mean? Do we have to, or do we not have to, kind of thing?
I guess
It's all tied to the reimbursement.
I guess it's a little bit amazing that we're squabbling over $345, but
I do agree with you. I think Bruce would agree with you too on that.
especially making that much money, but
I think,
who am I?
I think the Public Defender Council is the one who brought that to the attention.
All right.
Do you need those two appointments for commissioners? For redevelopment? Or not?
I think that we're just gonna make those appointments. Just, yeah, I guess coming from the chair.
He is going to be doing the legal ad for that unless you guys suspend that rule, because usually.
It depends on if the commissioners has asked that two
Right.
members of the council do it, then you don't need to advertise. But if you want
Right.
members of the public to do it, then you need to advertise. So it's kind of what's your preference?
I think we should probably just have two members of the council. So that would save that advertising and,
Right,
yeah. Let's do it that way.
very good.
If anybody has anything else for the good of the cause?
Did you want to set a meeting on the for the lit discussion?
Do we have a date for that? Off the top of my head now, I know we had a June 4th date that we were talking about, and what was that one for?
I would just make sure you have it in time before the meeting in case you have to have any rates ready to go at your June meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, what was the June 4th? Was it June 4 date or something? What was it?
Legislative update.
Legislative update, okay. So maybe, not that week, so I don't know. Maybe we're looking at the week of,
The 9th?
yep, June the 9th. Maybe we could do that.
June the 11th is a Wednesday. It's the 9th. Oh, you meant a week of the 9th?
Yeah, our meeting wouldn't be till the 18th, yeah.
So we'd have one on the 4th, 11th, and 18th?
And the 11th is, what meeting we're trying to schedule on that?
This would be like a lit work session.
Okay.
Talking about that.
Well, do we want to keep it on Wednesdays to make it simple for everybody, or what?
That's why I was thinking the 11th would be on Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be like the 11th then to try and do a lit meeting.
You do it all.
We probably need to make sure that Mr. Bates and contractor be there.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea either.
That meeting?
Do it on forces, we're already here.
Yeah, I'll just remind you. It's
Yeah,
just-
he did mention in
Depends how long it might
conversation,
go.
he mentioned tonight that, he could have some information regarding some of the property tax information in about 30 days, which we don't have time for the 30 days piece, though.
Right.
Wouldn't quite meet.
Right. Well, if we can add it to the 4th, we'd do it the 4th, otherwise, with the legislative update, otherwise we'd probably do it the 11th. In a separate meeting, so I guess that way we've got 2 dates available to try and schedule.
We know we're gonna meet the 4th.
Right.
I guess if we don't get enough accomplished that night, we could, schedule on the 11th then, is that what we're saying?
Well, with the lit update, just trying to get that, that scheduled. So,
So what do you want to do, send out an email or something?
yeah, I can send it out, yeah. We'll firm up for sure whether we'll do that on the 4th or the 11th. But the 4th for sure now for that legislative update that we're getting.
Because you could do a case of the agenda for the 4th could include both, and we just don't have time to get to the 2nd, we just take it to the 11th at that point.
Right.
Could do that.
Yeah.
Does that be publicized?
You got time to publicize it,
Then we have
or to advertise it in the paper or whatever.
Yeah.
So advertise for both on the 4th.
Yes.
If you can't get it done, you can at that meeting because you've advertised,
Right.
then state, we're gonna continue to the 11th.
Right. Yes.
Gotcha. We'll get that taken care of.
Okay. Sounds good. Then yep, you got something.
Yeah, I do have some other items. You just want a quick update?
Sure.
I mean, I know I'm taking enough of your time already this evening. We did complete the court referee room on time, actually ahead of schedule. And I just want to commend our maintenance guys. Our maintenance director is here this evening. I'd like to introduce him. His name's Mike Simison. If he would stand, he's been leading the charge on our behalf.
Hello.
Thanks to Mike and the crew. Right now, we're currently diving into HVAC systems. Man, it's been a mess. So we've been working with Resolve Tech to make sure that all the HVAC systems and all the buildings are working. That hasn't been done in some time. We went through and had them cleaned, had them serviced. And so now we're working on making sure that they're all working. And you wouldn't believe how many fans, blower motors, actuators, just all sorts of stuff that's hasn't been working in some time. And so we're trying to get that caught up. We're also working on a plan which has been in the works for some time now to deep clean the courthouse. Obviously, you know, we finished the referee courtroom with an epoxy flooring. We're looking toward getting a quote to make the entryway in the basement level clear epoxy to the election office, so that way that whole first floor is eye appealing when it comes in. It's pretty old and dilapidated.
It's a lot of foot traffic, so I guess that'll really test that floor, that's for sure.
Yeah, so we're working on quoting that out, so that's something to be thinking about. Highway did get the demo done on the old EMS building, so it's all down and removed, which has been a long time coming for that as well. I know it's been several years. We're about 2 weeks away for the bid plans for the EMA building. We're still waiting on Mr. Klein to have the final detailed plans to be able to bid it out. We'll probably have another meeting, maybe with Mr. Kitts and 2 other members of the council to make sure that we haven't missed anything as far as a high-level design approach. I think we've included everything. We've included the department heads that are going to be utilizing that training center. Yeah, so we're plugging away, and like I say, again, kudos to our maintenance staff, and we appreciate all that you've allowed us to do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming tonight. Looks like Mr. Duke might have some public comments.
If you'll entertain.
Absolutely.
Michael Duke, Grant County, out on Brentford Pike. And excuse I've got a sore throat and drainage hitting my larynx, so my voice is terrible tonight, so please bear with me. Just observation and idea from one simple guy out here as a citizen of the county, recognizing that for whatever deliberations and decisions are made by the commissioners and the council members relating to tax rates and the project of the jail. Ultimately, what those decisions are, what those rates are, the average citizen, the average voter in the pocketbook, your pocketbooks as well. Appeal to the council members as you give consideration for the cost of the jail project and as well as the budget. That for frugality, for conservatism, for keeping in mind the impact that whatever rates are going to hit us all. Every earner in the county, especially in terms of income tax. I personally will parrot the observation I think that one of the council members made about when the financial expert from the consultants who said max out the rates. That scares the bejeebins out of me. I would think that probably scares the bejeebins out of every citizen, every taxpayer. Here's the idea I would like to present to the council. I've seen this done in state government during tight times, during recessionary times. We certainly kind of have that right now with the unknown impact of the revenue streams into the county and projecting the loss in income we're going to get on it because of Senate Bill 1. As the council enters into the budgetary process for developing the budgets for next year, I would appeal to the council to consider, just as you've considered the hiring freeze here tonight, in a resolution, in an effort obviously to control costs, is to go one step more and to look at developing each department's budget, each entity's budget within the county governance by using what I would refer to as a zero-based budgeting approach. Mr. McWhort, correct me if I'm using the wrong term here, but I'm thinking in terms of building a budget for each entity in the county departments and justifying all of their costs, all of their expenses. In other words, build it all up, not a last year plus another 5% type of approach, but a zero-based approach where each department head justifies their cost, as well as perhaps even considering a 3 to a 5% reduction in cost of each government unit. As we sit around our kitchen tables, we have an impact that happens on us where our income is reduced. Individuals have to make decisions. Each business, when you sit around your boardroom table, has to make decisions. If they see a loss of a contract and their revenue stream being diminished for the next year, has to make a decision of where do we cut costs. Again, frugality, conservatism in the approach. Please consider thinking about maybe a 3 to a 5% reduction in expenses across the board for all county entities. I know that sounds severe to some people, but that's the way the world works. When you don't have enough money or you lose the opportunity for income, you have to make hard decisions. I would, as one citizen in the county, appeal to the county council to make hard decisions. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, motion from Mr. Scott. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Lemming. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.